Welcome everyone to another episode of Fox Encounter. I am here with the awesome Brenna Coates. How are you, Brenna?
I'm doing so good. How are you, Fox?
I am great. And I wanted to thank you again just for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot of things going on right now.
I'm so happy to be here. This is my social hour for the day. This is when I get to socialize talking to you. I
Yeah.
appreciate so much you reaching out and then also staying flexible with me. So I should be more like you on a professional level. It's good.
Yeah, but I'm glad we were able to make this happen. I know we were kind of talking about it. I didn't realize it was like coming up so fast. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, that's Monday. I was like,
I
Monday's
know.
Labor Day. I was like, whoa.
It was later, exactly, because I think you only reached out. It wasn't a couple months ago. You reached out to
Okay.
me like a few weeks ago. Yeah, it
Okay,
was a
yeah,
few
a few
weeks
weeks
ago.
ago.
Time doesn't make sense anymore. There's no time. I don't get it. And I was like, yeah, let's do it after Labor Day. And then suddenly we're in middle of September. Time is going so quickly. I'm not okay with it.
Yeah, me neither. Quick thing, like I said, we were kind of talking a little bit about it. Your dad, Kim Coates, is in one of my favorite movies of all time, and that is Black Hawk Down.
Battlefield Earth. I'm just
Battlefield.
kidding.
That was the second one. That was gonna be my second
Have you
choice.
seen Battlefield Earth? Have you seen it?
I have actually, yes.
You have? Is
Mhm.
it the worst movie of the century? Like everyone says. Maybe I'll get like found. Someone will like come take me in the middle of the. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but
I
I
mean,
have not seen Battlefield Earth.
okay, you haven't seen it. Okay.
Hmm.
It's definitely unique. I will say that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of elements there that are very interesting where I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. But I feel like it's the execution is where it kind of falls flat.
Okay. See,
Mhm.
this is why you're the host and I'm the guest. That's very well said. Black Hawk Down is one of your favorite movies. So you know what's so funny? I just watched Black Hawk Down for the very first time right before I flew here to Canada to do this movie. So like a month ago. I'm 28 years old. The movie, my dad filmed that movie when I was maybe in like grade three, no, grade four, grade five. We could figure it out, but I was definitely in elementary school. And then obviously, of course, when it came out, I just was too young to see it. Like I was too young to see so many of my dad's movies when they came out. And so now I'm kind of watching them for the first time. It's my boyfriend's all-time favorite movie. So we watched it together and it's so good.
Mhm.
It's so good. And
Yeah.
he's so good in it. He's good in everything. But I actually have a lot of questions for him about that movie. Like, just basically, how did they film that?
Yeah, my favorite movies are pretty much like on more of a technical level. Like when I watch a film, I'm always looking at how everything's done, like technique wise and directing wise, and the cinematography, stunt work, and all that other stuff, like all the technical stuff. Like I love acting and everything, but I'm always more intrigued with like how did they film that, or how did they do that without somebody dying?
So, because that's really interesting, but does that take you out of the movie? Like thinking of the technical things that you just said and the certain shots that they get and maybe figuring out the reasons for why they did that. Like, I find it hard to think of that sometimes because my brain goes there as well. And oh no, I wish I could just watch the movie and like enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
that
maybe it adds to it.
for me it does add to it a bit depending on the movie. I mean, if it's something like Black Hawk Down, it definitely adds to it. Something like Battlefield Earth, it takes away.
Okay, I get it. I get
But yeah,
that.
yeah, because I actually like I went to like film school and stuff for a bit. I get into it. I'm like, oh, okay, this will be awesome. I love movies, and it's something that I could like just look into more and kind of I guess like get some I don't know, just more like information about film and everything else.
I know. That's what I'm feeling now. Maybe I really think of of that when I'm in the middle of shooting something myself. So like, last night, or I should say like this morning when we wrapped and the sun was like just coming up because we're doing night shoots. I have to come back to the hotel and unwind. Like no matter how late or early in the morning it is or how tired I am, I know I will not be able to fall asleep without just like watching something, having my glass of Chardonnay and just like turning my brain off. And so I watched something on Netflix, and I'm just like thinking of like, oh, okay, so they did that close up, and interesting that they chose that take on it. And I wonder how many different takes she did, and was that an improv and blah blah. I'm like, no, Brenna, just watch the movie. That's why I hate to say it. Reality TV shows sometimes it's like meditative for me because I don't think of the industry.
Just don't look at the credits in a
scripted. Actors, directors.
You'll see like you'll see script supervisor and this and that. And it's like what?
Director, literally director. Yeah.
How well did you transition into that kind of Zoom like self-tape era of the film industry when all that switched to that?
That's interesting. I have been doing self-tapes before COVID because I have LA representation and New York representation and Toronto representation. So I'm so fortunate enough that, I'm a Canadian citizen as well as an American citizen. I live in LA. I used to live in New York. I used to live in Toronto. So, but I live in LA now. But I had been sending in tapes for, those different kind of agents and casting people for a while. So that was fine for me. I've had those handful of like Zoom callbacks, and I actually just went through a process. It makes me so sad of like a, 2 chemistry read, like a whole thing for a lead of a new TV show. And I didn't get it, but it was so hard. It was so hard doing Zoom chemistry reads. I think it's tough.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe we'll get better at them with practice, but it's weird being on a computer screen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, the in-person chemistry read, that person's actually there, and you can definitely kind of play off of their physical, But if you're staring at a screen, it's very difficult.
Oh my God. And you have to like position it and I don't know, and you're waiting on the Zoom waiting room and you're just staring at a black screen for like 20 minutes before they call you in. And of course, this last one I did, I had been waiting for like, I don't know, close to maybe 45 minutes. And you're so nervous, obviously, but you have nowhere to put it to because all you have in front of you is a black screen and you're in your apartment and you have your backdrop behind you. And of course, after 45 minutes, I decide, well, I can't hold it anymore. I have to go to the bathroom. It's going to be just like so quick. They've made me wait 45 minutes. For sure, they won't see me for another hour. And of course, when I come back was when they had like welcomed me into the room. And I still have like nightmares about that. So I really can't believe that happened. It's the little painful things of this new tech world.
Yeah. And how do you, as an actor whose career is just starting out and everything, and you're doing some pretty awesome things, how do you personally deal with not booking a role? Like, do you take it very hard, or do you kind of just like roll with it because it's something that you kind of, I feel like you can mentally prepare for it, but it's always something that I feel you should be confident in as well.
Yeah. My sister and my boyfriend take me straight away to get margaritas. That's how I do. That's how I deal with it. It's hard, Fox. It's hard. It is honestly a tough little thing having to deal with these kind of rejections and working on something and, sending it into the void. And maybe we're not even talking about rejections. Like, the ones that you get really, really, really close to, at least you got really, really, really close to them. And at least it was out of the, 1,000 of women who auditioned for it, it was you and one other person, or you and two other people. But it's the ones that you are like, oh, dude, this is gonna be. You start just dreaming about it at night, like you start seeing yourself on that movie set or that TV set, that you don't even hear back from the casting directors, like if they even watched it. That is tough.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel it and I get emotional. And maybe the ones that I really wanted, I absolutely let myself cry about it. And the people I surround myself with let me cry about it. And then it's over and then it's on to the next. Seriously,
Yeah.
truly, it's on to the next. And I do feel like so, so, so lucky and happy with my life and career so far that like I know that there will be something next for me. Like I know that another one will come and I'll get to work on that. But it's hard. I think the key is the people that you keep around you. I
Mm-hmm.
would like be maybe depressed and totally insecure dealing with these rejections and not having like my older sister and my boyfriend and my parents and my best friends.
I really feel that now. I feel like everything they say when they're talking about like not booking something, stuff like that, because I also feel that when I try to reach out to different people to book an interview and either just get completely shot down or just like not even responded to, and I'm just
Don't
like,
even
oh,
respond.
okay.
Yeah,
Or like, but
totally.
then yeah, and then when you do get it, you're like, oh, great, awesome. And it's definitely a confidence boost. And then after after somebody responds, it's like, oh yeah, let's do it. And you're like, okay, awesome, cool. And then that confidence builds up, and then you want to go at it some more.
It's true. It's true. I've always kind of my friends and like my partners and things like that. Like they've never really been in the industry, which is really interesting. I think I get that from my dad. Like my dad was like the actor that had, all of those friends who were like into sports or like did different things and they weren't necessarily actors. And so when I talk to my peeps and they have that rejection come their way, or they have that day where they're maybe a fifth grade teacher and they thought, oh my God, I lost the classroom today. Like I just, I couldn't control my kids. I had a horrible day of teaching. I had a whatever. I'm realizing like, oh my God. So when I leave maybe an audition room and I think, oh, I absolutely blew it. Yo, like it's not singular to you. Like this is absolutely just what people go through. And it's about, finding the gratitude of what you do have instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely try not to be too hard on myself. There are those times where I'm just like, oh, you should just, like everyone has that like bit of doubt every now and again. You're just like, should I just stop? But like, I feel it's also
Mm,
very, like, I also really love the challenge of it as well. It's like, just go for it. You never know.
go for it. Go for it. No plan B. Go for it.
Mhm. And so you also have some background in theater, which I always find interesting. Like, how much of the techniques and like little tricks and stuff have you kind of brought from the theater world to the film world?
All of it. Everything. My understanding of what an actor is, especially what a maybe collaborator is, comes from my theater training at NYU, getting my, acting degree from Tisch. And then as soon as I graduated, I was so lucky. I got cast in this play called The Wolves by Sarah Delap that we were on off Broadway and then Lincoln Center, and we won all the New York Theater Awards. Like it was just like lightning in a bottle. It was insanity, and it lasted for 3 years. And so I was, 20. I think I was like 22, 23 years old when I got cast in that, and it was doing 8 shows a week, 6 days a week, and I was, I don't know, it was that consistent kind of work that you don't typically get as an actor when you just start out, that just taught me how I don't know how to be bold, how to make choices, how to keep it interesting for you when you're on your like 100th show,
Mhm.
100th night of the same show. How to listen, how to take in other people, how to be an ensemble. And so it's funny for this movie that I'm doing right now. I have texted my family group chat and I've like told my friends, it's like I feel like I'm theater Brenna again.
Mhm.
And and because this director it's a funny movie and it's a spooky movie and it's a larger than life movie. So I get to just like kind of like own my marks, just being like I'm like back at Lincoln Center again. And it's so freeing and it's so much fun. The improv that is allowed on this set definitely makes me think of my theater training.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, theater's coming back to me in a big way right now. I love it.
Yeah. I really like that you mentioned the improv thing because not a lot of people are aware that theater does involve a lot of improv a lot. I guess most people just think of theater as something that's, scripted and then you just kind of go over it like 1,000 times and then you just perform. But I mean, there's a lot of improv that goes into that as well.
Oh, interesting. Oh my God, there's so much improv. You're doing the same lines with the same people over and over and over. There is so much improv. I just remember, I remember I was doing this one play. It was during a little break of the Wolves. We had this little break in like 2017 or something. And I did this play at La Jolla Playhouse in California. And it's called At the Old Place by Rachel Bonds. And Marcel Spears was the star of it, the star in, The Neighborhood. He's just a star. Marcel Spears is the best actor I know. And the set is on the front yard of this house. And so we're really kind of like, we're in this beautiful 400-person theater, but it's like we're looking out on like the, sun setting or something like that. And we're kind of outside on fake grass and a fake door behind us and fake lawn chairs. And we're doing this kind of deep, intense kind of scene. And there's a bug that had got into this theater and it is just zipping around and the audience knows it. The audience can see it. And Marcel just made the brilliant thing to just like play what's real. And he started just like swatting at the bug. And the entire audience just broke out into laughter. And me and the other cast member on stage that time just had to like go with it. It's like, get that fucking bug. And it was so funny. And you remember those improv moments more than you remember any of the other moments when you're acting. So it's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked a little bit about chemistry, when chemistry reads and stuff. How important is it to you to have like a good relationship with your co-stars?
That's so interesting. I don't think it's necessary, but when it's good, you're so happy. When you do have good chemistry and you actually like the person offset and like you respect who they are and they respect who you are, it can just make that 1 month away, 2 months away from your home so nice. And if not, too bad. And you kind of just, and it's just like another job and you go and you do your thing and you act and then you go home to your hotel room and then you wake up the next day. But when it's good, oh my God, it can be so great. And I've been lucky. I've had some lasting friendships from the people I've gotten to act with and work with. So I consider myself very lucky because I know it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, because I always find that it's one of those things, the aspects of like filmmaking stuff that I always find kind of interesting, or I always wonder like, about that. Like, you can always tell when the relationship between actors is really good because they play off of each other a lot better, or it's just because they're just incredible actors. So I mean, either one is always fun interesting too. Because like how you mentioned,
I know.
you have to spend time with these people.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know. I want to know all of that like gossip. I really do. Like, do they actually like each other? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, because I've with the people that I've talked to, I've come to know that sometimes people aren't very nice to each other, and they always find it very refreshing when they're able to be on set with people that are actually very kind and generous, and it
Yeah.
always makes the experience better.
I mean, it's interesting too. I mean, granted, I haven't like for film or in the film and TV world, I haven't yet like worked on a movie that only has two people or something like that. So I think then you would spend so much time with your co-star. But for the experiences I've had, it's like there's even relationships that you have with your driver and relationships that you have with your hair and makeup. Like sometimes you feel
Mhm.
like you see your hair and makeup people more than you see, your co-star or the person at the front desk of your hotel lobby. Like you can become friends with all those people that orbit around a movie set. You're always just kind of, usually you miss home, usually you miss your friend or your lover or your whatever. So you're always just kind of hoping that like one of those kind of groups of people are going to be your people.
What about when you were working with your dad on Neon Lights? Did you guys ever like get on each other's nerves?
I fought all the time. I said, I'm not doing this movie if he's doing this movie. Dude, we had the best time. He was hilarious. It was fun. Yeah, Neon Lights. Dana Abraham wrote it, starred in it, produced it with Bruce Bay, the director. Those are examples of just like it didn't have to be that good, and it was, and it's because I just respect them so much, who they are as people. But yeah, it was November of 2020, so it was really a dark time, and also it was like a also added dark time in my own life just with personal things. And I got to go to set with my dad on Neon Lights. And it was funny. I don't know, like during our, you have to wait so much when you're on set, and I would just bother him. Like I would just like go into his like holding area because I'm such an introvert. So I knew I could just like be around him and, not have to be anything or be anyone. And I could just be with my pops. And he was just making me laugh. The American election was going on at that time. So I think there was a lot of loopy energy, um,
Oh, okay,
from the dad and I. And he was funny. Yeah. There's this story that I always tell of him. It was just me, and they were doing a close up of me, and it was a really close artistic shot. And I realized Dad was kind of somewhere over there. He was, I think, eating food, and he had lines to feed to me in that scene. And I thought, well, maybe if he's, okay with it, he can just feed me his lines so that I can do this close up. But really, you don't really need the other actors there. And he was like, "Oh my God, yeah, Bren, yeah, fucking anything for you." He comes, and he puts his granola bar away, and I realized he didn't know his lines. And so he's just messing up my close up completely. And he's improving, and I'm just like, oh my God, I need to nail this. It was very funny.
There are a lot of close-ups of you on Neon Lights. Actually, they're pretty well done too.
Oh my God. So did you watch Neon Lights?
Yes.
You watched it. Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good movie. It's an artistic shot. I know it's true. I'm just really in maybe three different spaces in that whole movie, mostly the one being, my therapist office. And it's right up there on my nose, right up there on my face.
And then the backdrop of like the kind of like the cooler lighting is also kind of like
Mm-hmm.
sets the mood for like definitely like the scenes and stuff. That's the kind of like technical stuff that I always look out for, that I'm just like very intrigued by.
Were you wanting to be a filmmaker? Like a director?
Maybe. I mean, I've always been sort of a writer. I used to write a lot of like poetry when I was in middle school.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you're
And
more so
so,
a writer.
yeah. And so from then on, I just kind of wrote a lot of transitions and like writing short stories. And I have written like a couple of like scripts here and there just for fun, but I kind of never really like got past that just because, like I said, I'm not that confident in my work as of yet.
I love poetry and I love short stories as well. And I love writing it. So that's so cool. Well, we can create together. That sounds exactly like my interests.
Yeah, for sure. I can email you some of my stuff.
There you go. There
I just
you
have
go.
to I'll have to dig it up. It's somewhere in a drawer. Oh, okay. This was another question I wanted to ask. Who kind of like got a little off topic, but that's okay. But when we are talking about neon lights and working with your dad, as far as like like I read about a lot about like your kind of first starts in acting and stuff, and he was kind of a lot of the inspiration for wanting to be an actor came from your father, and and just having a lot of those stories from when he would come home and he like there was a story. I think I saw an interview of yours where he came home and had like every time he would have play a different character, he'd come home like looking totally different. And I always thought that was such a
Yeah.
really cool story of like always seeing your dad as a different character.
Yeah.
But I was just kind
Yeah.
of wondering about what like when you wanted to kind of go into this field, did he ever give you any kind of like advice about it or maybe how to navigate the whole film realm?
He still does. I wouldn't be able to like pick out one. He still does. He's my like I have him on speed dial with every single question that I have about this industry. Yeah, besides just like literally always being there for me and answering my questions um about like what this actor life is, he's just given me so much confidence. I mean, I don't know, he's never ever ever shied away from compliments. So he really makes me believe that like, I'm like meant for this and I got this. And he's taught me and my older sister to be so tough. I mean, he knows that this industry is weird and can be horrible for a young woman. And no matter what, he's just taught us to stand up for ourselves. Um, I don't know. He's taught me everything. He's taught me to be weird and fucking out there and unself-conscious and be good to others and be proud to be Canadian. All of it.
Yeah, I love you guys' dynamic. Like,
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. I don't know. It's funny like being tight with a parent and a sibling, like you said, and then also like really wanting to like forge your own path, but knowing that like you ain't shit without them. Like I'm always like back and forth between the two.
yeah, just because of all the I mean, especially because like you're following in the same sort of footsteps. It's you always want to set yourself apart, but then you realize like they just have so much to show you, and they just have so much
Yeah.
information on it and everything. So you always want to go back to that.
Yeah, my dad didn't, work his ass off and be the kind man that he is, and withhold this like kind of incredible reputation that he has with like every single person that I work with, because they tell me for his daughter who's an actor to like distance herself from it. Like he did not do all that he did for my family for me to suddenly like not want any part of it.
Mhm.
I do like I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I think I am the only person who puts the pressure on myself to like, kind of uphold that expectation that people maybe have being his daughter. But yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. It's a tricky one.
Yeah, I feel like we all kind of have that, no matter like what we're doing or what we do in life. We always, to other people, especially if our parents are very well known or very well respected, there's always that kind of like, and being Native American and stuff, like my mom and my dad are very well respected in their community. And so like growing up, I was always like, oh, that's your mom, or you're so and so's son. And I was just always like, at first, when you're a kid, I'm just like, I'm my own person, whatever. But when you get older, you're like,
Classic.
okay, there's a reason why they do that, and that's because they've done so much for their community, or they've done so much in their field.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. Well said. Yeah, it's interesting. I almost hear like almost like this like kind of legacy thing, right? From what you just said. I think I'm now just realizing like, I don't know, is legacy, I've always like attached legacy to men. Like I think society is, I like haven't really heard so much of like women saying like, okay, this is going to be my legacy. This is my legacy. Like, I don't know if it has to do with like, you take the dad's family name for whatever fucking reason. I have no idea. But now I'm realizing like, yeah, like if, the driver who picks me up and like takes me to set wants to talk to me about like how incredibly kind my dad was 20 years ago when he did the exact same thing. It's also just picking my dad up on his movie that he filmed in Sudbury, Ontario. It's also like cool for that person too. Like you're seeing like generations and generations, like maybe I can like continue that legacy and like do what my dad taught me. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never, like I said, being raised by my mom, like I've never seen legacy as a gender thing. It was mostly like generational.
Yeah, I know. And it is funny with my dad. Like when people say, they do a double take or something, and I know that they're going to be like, are you Kim Coates' daughter? I just get straight to it. And I go, I'm like, what? You know my mom? You love my mom? You recognize my mom's great work? And so the thing with, people will be like, wow, like your dad is in this industry for so long. And look, he raised like these two great daughters and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but the first thing my dad will say is, no. That is all, my mom, Diana. Like that is all Diana's doing. Another thing he taught me, along with my mom and my older sister, is to give it up to the women in your life. And it's interesting. I feel like in my partnership, like I am very similar with similar kind of energy to my dad. And my mom, or my boyfriend, my partner, who's I think, just my guy for the rest of time, has like very similar characteristics to my mom. So like our genders are flipped, but we both really need each other. And because I've always needed my mom to survive. So I think I found some of that in my male partner.
That's interesting. That's how kind of like my wife and I are. I am a lot like her dad, because we're both like just very chill, very like calm people, where she's very spicy. She's very like, she's very stubborn, and I'm like the exact opposite. Every time like something happens, she's like, aren't you going to do something? And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, it's whatever. I'm just very chill about everything. And that's exactly how her dad
sounds like me, my boyfriend, honestly. Opposites attract. I love when opposites attract.
And now as an adult, I'm just kind of like, I start to realize like I just don't need to stress about a lot of the small stuff.
I know. Don't you kind of like, I don't mind getting older. Like life seems to get better. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy that I am no longer 15 years old or 20 years old.
Yeah, because I think my younger self wouldn't have had the same kind of mindset as I do now. And that I think that comes with just living,
Yeah, big time. Life experience is everything.
It's kind of a fun question I wanted to ask you. Are you the type of person that can watch anything and everything you're in, like every project you're in, you watch, or are you someone who just like cannot watch yourself on film?
I watch myself.
And are,
I watch the film.
and are you very critical of yourself?
See what's up. I need to see how I did.
Yeah. So you're critical of yourself.
Yeah. For sure. Oh God, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm critical of myself and I'm curious, but also I want to celebrate. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be invited to the premiere and I want to see it and I want to bring, my boyfriend. No, sometimes I will. Sometimes I know what it'll be and I just go in completely calm. And sometimes I have no idea. I don't trust a word anyone has said to me about it. And I need to see it for myself. But preferably, I see my work for the first time alone, not with anyone else. That's maybe ideal. Yeah. So I can kind of like figure it out.
I think that's how I would be if I was, and I don't think I have the chops for it, but I think I would be that type of person. Even if, like I said, even if I was like a writer or a filmmaker, I would be. I think I'd be too critical. Maybe I couldn't be a director because I think I'd just be way too critical, and like my movie would just never get done. But even if it did get done,
no, your energy. Hollywood needs you, Fox. Like you would just like we would all look to you like in the middle of like, the chaos and just know that like, okay, things are going to be okay because he's the captain. Your energy would be good on set. Let me tell you that. Did you like group projects as a kid? I hated them.
Funny enough, no. I worked a lot better by myself just because I guess I kind of just knew everything. I plan I'm like a big planner. So I plan everything out in my head. So by the time like groups were even picked, I already had the whole project like done in my head and I already knew how I wanted it. So I'm like, I'd rather do it by myself.
Yeah, that was me. The other kids just stressed me out. Yeah. Let me just do it and get it done.
But I wasn't able to, I guess, take control as much as I can now. Back then, if somebody were to like take control right away, I'm like, all right, cool, that's fine. I kind of just like step back.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Was it because it was you weren't afraid to like hurt? I'm sorry, you were afraid to hurt people's feelings? Back then?
I think it's because I'm very good at reading people's personalities. So if I knew that someone just had to be in charge, I'm like, hey, I'll let you do your thing. That's kind of your personality.
Needed it. Oh, okay. Yeah. See, that's a director thing. Thing. I remember it was in college when I was at NYU and I was dating this guy who was he was a choreographer / director. And he was doing this piece and someone else who was like a big part of the piece, like said no to something or wanted something else. And this guy just like allowed it. And I remember talking to him afterwards and I just remember being like, but you didn't really want that, did you? Like you just allowed it. And he was like, there's seriously bigger things to worry about than that. It's like you pick and choose. Mm-hmm. Like if that's going to make you absolutely happy, then that's actually ultimately really good for this entire project. So I'm gonna give you that. And then I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. And I thought, oh my God, I could never be a director because I would be way too intense, way too stubborn, way too hardcore and way too whatever.
Hey, a lot of the greatest directors that we know are that way.
Oh my God, so
true. When you're dealing with a large amount of people, there are people who are going to have different personalities. Not everyone gels, right? And like you kind of have to, pick it. You could say pick and choose your battles. I'm like, is this really warranting, the time and energy that we're going to spend on it, where we can just like let it be and get what we need to do done? Maybe I should be a director. Who knows?
Come to Sudbury. We got this restaurant across the street. It's called Shoeless Joe's. I don't know where Joe put his shoes, but they have, food there. And yeah, we got it all going on here in Sudbury.
I would like the traveling. The traveling part, I think, would like be probably the coolest.
No, seriously. I know that is one of the best things about my job is that I do get to go places really, really, truly. Like it's like maybe like top 3 for me of why I'm an actor, really, truly. And I do like the escape. I do like when I'm like at home in LA and I have my life and whatever, but I know like a project is coming up that I get to like leave for, a month or a month and a half, or maybe I have 2 back to back and like 3 months, whatever. There's like a peace that comes over me that I know that like I'm going to get to leave all of this and all of you. And I'm going to pack my 3 books and I'm going to be on my night owl schedule that my society never lets me be on. And I'm going to be at peace.
And how are you liking LA? Like, how was that transition between, like Canada and moving into LA?
Well, I grew up in LA. I was born in Toronto, but we moved to LA when I was 2 years old. So I grew up in LA. New York is really where it's at for me. That's like when I kind of became my person for sure. And like living there, in my early 20s and all of those things and doing theater. But it's cool. It's cool. It's cool to get to come to Canada for work. It really, really is. I hope that never, ever, ever, ever stops. And it won't, because there's so much being done in Canada. Yeah, I mean, this movie, we can talk about it. It's been released, Zombie Town. It's with Maddie Monroe and and see, I have 17 text messages from her. And Dan Aykroyd is in it, and Chevy Chase is in it, and all these other people. Marlon, oh my God, he's like gonna be a star, if not already a star, from Vancouver. He's the lead of this movie. Marlon is incredible, and I'm just lucky to be a part. It's so, so, so much fun, and we're all doing it in Sudbury.
That's where it's at.
Ontario. That's where it's at. Exactly.
We'll have to get you a Shoeless Joe sponsorship.
Oh my God. Honestly, it's like at that point where like they make me things that are not even on the menu. You know what I mean? Like it's at that point that I can go there and say like, okay, you see this on the menu, but instead, can you actually just like make it that instead? Like, can you do that? And they're like, yeah. It's at that point.
Do you have a usual? You just go in like the usual.
Exactly. Pretty much. I definitely have a usual drink. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So just wanted to thank you so much again for taking the time out of your busy schedule and sit down and talk to me.
You're so welcome. I'm so flattered. How did you, where did this come from? How do you know about me or?
With meeting a lot of the people that I started kind of, that I have interviewed before, from there, it kind of just stems off into friends of their friends or things that people that I've seen that, their films, and it's like, oh, this person was in there too. And then I start to look into them and things like that, pretty much. And awesome. Along the way, I happen to see Sinners.
Nice.
And then I really enjoyed your character. So your character stood out the most to me. So I was like, oh, okay, I got to see who she is and other stuff she's been in.
Thank you so much. That's so nice.
The other thing too, just to kind of get that out of the way too, is then I realized digging deeper into like who you are as a person, and I found out who your father was, and I was like, oh, okay, like I know that guy.
There's always that. There's always that.
So, Brenna, it was wonderful talking with you. I know you probably got to get back to doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Fox. That was super fun. I enjoyed talking to you.
For everyone watching, you can check out Brenna in Sinners. You can check out in Neon Lights, Burden, and now Zombie Town.
There you go. Thanks, Fox.
No problem. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye, Fox. Thank you.